Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking apart the blueprint of what has to be one of the most aggressive professional goals we've ever come across in commercial real estate.
That's a big one.
We are cracking open the sources on a $500 million transaction goal set by an Indianapolis top producer, Cara Conde. And she's aiming to do it all in a single calendar year, 2026.
And just to put that number in perspective for you, it's massive. The sources we've seen call this one of the most ambitious goals in maybe all of Midwest CRE history.
Wow.
And maybe even more importantly, it's the biggest single-year total ever pursued by a female broker in Indiana. I mean, a goal like that, it just requires a totally different scale of thinking.
Absolutely. And when you hear a number that big, you usually assume it's all built on, 20 years of networking or these huge corporate connections.
The old way of doing things.
Right. But here's the fascinating part for us, the pivot point.
Yeah.
This whole plan is not built on that old model of networking over lattes. It is built from the ground up on a repeatable, high-tech, industrial-grade system.
A machine.
Exactly. We have the daily routine, the data sources, the digital workflows,
Right.
Everything. So our mission today is to really unpack that engine and see how she plans to pull this off.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack the system and figure out the fundamentals they had to get right to even make a number like that remotely achievable.
Let's start with the math, because the sheer scale really dictates the whole strategy, right?
Yeah.
To get to $500 million in 2026, the plan is built around closing somewhere between 80 to 100 separate transactions.
Which then forces the average deal size right into that sweet spot for commercial properties. We're talking an average of what, $5 to $6 million per deal.
Right.
So that immediately filters out all the small stuff. You're not dealing with basic residential investments here. You're talking about sophisticated ownership groups, specialized assets, big stuff.
And the geography confirms that focus. It's central Indiana, but they're not just spraying and praying across the whole state. The targeting is laser-focused on Indianapolis itself and those high-growth suburbs all around it.
The whole economic belt of the region.
Yeah, the sources list them out. Avon, Carmel, Fishers, Noblesville, Zionsville.
Geist, Brownsburg, Westfield. Yeah, these are the places where you're seeing the most rapid growth, both in population and, commercial investment.
Exactly. They're targeting where the capital's already flowing.
Makes sense. It's also worth pointing out the person behind all this, Cara Conde, who the sources note is a Filipino-American broker. She's working with FC Tucker and SVN Northern Commercial. So her ambition isn't just setting a monetary record. It's also a pretty big representation milestone in a, well, let's say a very traditional Midwest brokerage world.
So if 500 million is the finish line, what's the fuel? What's the one core metric that has to be hit every single day to make this volume even possible?
It all comes down to lead volume. The entire strategy, the whole thing, it hinges on generating and touching 12,250 fresh property owner leads.
Every single day.
Every single day. That consistent high-volume data feed is the non-negotiable part. It's what makes the 80 to 100 closings even plausible. It's a data factory, not a sales office.
That's the perfect way to frame it, a data factory. So let's walk everyone through the daily schedule, because the detail in the sources is remarkable. It's all built around getting this data pipeline running before most people are even awake. The day starts at 5:45 a.m.
It's like a military schedule. The first half hour is pure situational awareness, black coffee, and then immediately diving into data. Scanning alerts from CoStar, checking ownership changes on Regrid, and looking at local assessor digests.
And this isn't just, reading the news. It's mission planning. It defines the daily target.
Exactly. So they might decide, okay, today we're going after Fisher's Retail, or tomorrow it's all about older multifamily properties in Noblesville. That focus is what makes the outreach actually relevant later.
Okay, so the actual engine starts turning at 6:50 a.m. with what they call the daily data pull. This is where the real technical complexity begins.
It really is. To get those 1,250 raw leads, they're pulling batch exports from a ton of sources at once. You've got Marion and Hamilton County assessors, Indiana Secretary of State filings, data providers like PropStream, and even open corporates. They're scraping the deepest layers of public and commercial data to get those initial records.
And, pulling data is one thing. Getting clean data is the really hard part. And the sources stress this. From 7:3 to 8:00 a.m., it's all about prep and cleaning. They're using tools like Microsoft Power Query, which is a pretty serious data tool to dedupe everything, split names from company records, filter by state, and even cross-check against the MLS so they don't contact people who are already listed.
That cleaning step is the huge operational hurdle that most people just skip. Their goal isn't just a list, it's what they call a surgically clean 1,250-row file.
Right.
If you skip that, you just end up with spam complaints, you burn your reputation, and you waste tons of time. So for this kind of volume, cleaning is absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, so the list is surgically clean, but they still just have names and addresses, right? Maybe a generic business phone number. How do they actually reach 1,250 people digitally every day?
That's where the high-powered enrichment engine kicks in. At 8 a.m., they take that verified CSV file and they feed it into a platform like Apollo.io.
Okay.
And what Apollo does is it uses AI and these massive databases to attach modern contact info. We're talking direct cell phone numbers, professional emails, LinkedIn profiles, to those raw ownership records.
And this is where we see the huge strategic advantage of their geography. What's truly fascinating in the sources is the result they get from that process. A 92% Midwest match rate.
That 92% figure, I mean, it's not just the statistic, it's the horsepower for the entire machine. It proves that their specific mix of data sources and a powerful enrichment tool works incredibly well in central Indiana. They are getting verifiable digital contact info for almost every single owner they target.
That is just staggering. Okay, so now we move to quality control right before outreach begins. Verification is from 8.45 to 9.15 a.m. They scrub that enriched data using something like ZeroBounce.
Yeah, you can think of ZeroBounce as like a critical insurance policy for deliverability. It confirms the emails are valid and active. This gives them that super high, like 99% deliverability confidence.
Which you absolutely need at this volume.
You have to have it. Only then, after all that, is the data segmented into 3 buckets. The text-first leads, the longer email nurture leads, and then the mail-only leads that just don't have good digital contact info.
So after 3 intense hours of data collection, cleaning, enrichment, and verification, the machine is finally ready to fire. It's 9:15 a.m., and the sales activity is about to start.
That's right. And the first sequences launch between 9:15 and 10:00 a.m. They're running these 7 touch sequences in Apollo, which is a series of 7 coordinated messages. And the messaging is really specific, very indie flavored. It's clear they know the local market.
The sources gave a really powerful example of this. It was something like, saw your Broad Ripple Center off-market buyer ready.
See, that's not a generic cold email.
Not at all. That's the language of a serious broker targeting a seller who might want to avoid a public listing.
It immediately positions her not as a salesperson, but as a capital facilitator. But automation, it only gets you so far. From $10 a.m. to 12:00 p.m. is what they call the deal hunting blitz. The sources say this is the highest leverage part of the day.
This is where Cara and her VA team switch from automated sequences to just pure manual sales hustle. They personally dial or text the hottest 300 to 400 direct sell hits the system found.
300 to 400 calls and texts.
The volume is immense, and the daily goal for that 2-hour window is to secure 8 to 10 new listing appointments daily.
Wait, 8 to 10 a day? That seems almost physically impossible to maintain without burning out. Do the sources mention how big the team is or what tech they're using to go that fast?
They mentioned the leverage from the VA team, who handle some of the initial contact and scrubbing. But the key is that surgical targeting. They aren't just cold calling 400 people. They're calling the 400 that the data says are the absolute most likely to be high-value owners. This volume, if you maintain it, is what makes the $500 million goal even seem possible.
Okay, that makes more sense. They've removed all the low-leverage work and focused the human effort just on those high-impact conversations. But what about the non-digital leads? The mail-only bucket?
Right. The afternoon is for them. From 3:00 to 4:00 p.m., they manage direct mail. And it's this really clever mix of old school and new school. They send handwritten yellow letters.
Classic.
They pair them with QR-coded video sales letters, or VSLs, to that mail-only segment.
Oh, a VSL. So it's a short personalized video pitch you get to from the QR code. That's a very smart way to use traditional mail to drive someone to a high-conversion digital format.
And that's coupled with the most traditional activity of all, quick stops at the Indie Chamber or SVN co-bro coffees. It's purposeful, low-volume networking right alongside the high-volume machine.
And then the day ends with the most critical part of any machine, the feedback loop.
Exactly. From 4:00 to 5:00 t.m., they log every single conversion, every bounce, every opt-out right back into the system.
And that data logging is what sharpens the machine over time. It becomes a learning system. You figure out which message works on which type of asset, which neighborhoods have the highest opt-out rate. It lets you constantly refine your targeting for the next day.
And the day closes with setting up for tomorrow. A tool like Zapier automatically triggers the next 1,250 record poll, and the cycle just never breaks.
Okay, so we've established the volume, the industrial mechanics of it all. But, to actually close $500 million in deals, you need expertise that matches that ambition. What advanced knowledge do you need to actually succeed at this level?
That is the core value proposition, right? High volume outreach just opens the door. It's the high value strategy that actually closes the deal. The sources point to a ton of depth in specialized commercial expertise, starting with just speaking the language of money.
The investor's language.
Can you walk us through some of the heavy-hitting acronyms they list and, why they matter to that $5 million investor?
Sure. So beyond just basic cap rate, we're seeing things like internal rate of return, IRR, net operating income, NOI, and crucially, debt service coverage ratio, or DSCR.
DSCR.
So IRR tells an investor their true return over the entire life of the investment. NOI shows the profitability before you factor in debt. But DSCR, that's the metric that tells the lender if the property is making enough money to cover its mortgage. A savvy broker uses DSCR to structure the financing, which is often the thing that makes or breaks a $5 million deal.
So she's not just finding a property. She's finding solutions to capital and debt problems. And that strategy goes way beyond just calculating returns. The sources mention specific tax-deferred strategy calls, and they note that clients really value her guide on 1031 exchanges.
And that is absolutely crucial. Sophisticated owners aren't just looking to sell, they're looking for a tax-deferred way to place that capital. A 1031 exchange lets them defer capital gains tax if they reinvest the money into a like-kind property. When you're aiming for $500 million, a huge chunk of those deals are going to involve 1031s.
So you have to be selling strategy, not just a building.
Exactly. And the level of investment vehicle knowledge they mention is intense. Things like Syndication 101, SBA 504 loans, the very specific HUD 221 SO loan program, and even raising capital via a 506B exemption.
Those are highly specialized topics.
They really are. I mean, the HUD 221D4 program, that's a major federal program for insuring loans for building or rehabbing multifamily housing. If you're fluent in that, you can work with institutional level developers, the exact clients you need for those $5 to $6 million deals.
Right, and it's clear they're not just casting a wide net. They've also established these niches they're targeting: self-storage, senior living apartments, small multifamily, and even really specialized single-room occupancy housing.
That's just smart targeting. You pair the high-volume-led system with deep expertise in these specific niches, so when a $5 million lead does come in, they know exactly how to maximize its value.
And we should probably highlight her other credentials, too. Certifications as a negotiation expert and a luxury home marketing specialist. That really speaks to her ability to command that high-end market.
Absolutely. And they're coupling that internal expertise with external market knowledge. She's tracking local economic trends, scouting emerging sectors like the life sciences hub near Purdue's Indianapolis campus.
And those big transformative projects like Rex Park in Whitestown. So she's generating leads with industrial efficiency, but closing them by offering strategic, forward-looking advice on where smart money should go in central Indiana.
So if we just summarize the insight from the sources, it's the definitive blueprint for brokerage at an industrial scale in the modern age. You've got a broker who masterfully combines this high-tech data processing with tools like Apollo, Zapier, ZeroBounce, with a totally relentless traditional sales hustle of just dialing in direct mail. That fusion is what's needed for this kind of scale.
It really proves that the future of high-end sales is about getting scale through data efficiency first, and only then leveraging that human expertise. The sources confirm it's all supported by these detailed guides for clients, covering everything from commercial leases to zoning laws to investment strategies.
Yeah. This $500 million goal is based on a huge shift away from just relying on, networking over lattes or random referrals to creating this industrial-grade lead engine that performs 12,250 targeted actions every day. So here's our final provocative thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
If this level of daily, systematic, automated data processing can transform a brokerage aiming for $500 million, what current manual, repetitive task in your professional life client management, market research, whatever it is, could be radically transformed by adopting this kind of systematic, high-tech, daily data pipeline. Think about replacing hours of just searching with minutes of surgically clean data delivery.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.